Welcome to the new APA format from the Publication Manual of the American Psychological Association, 7th edition. Today, I'm going to show you how to do basic APA citations. Basically, APA citations have 4 positions. Most of the time, the author will be in the first position. Second is the date. Third is the title. And fourth, the source. The number one thing to remember in APA is the date. No matter what other information is in your citation, the date always comes second. Normally, the author comes first. If you have no author, the title comes first. If you have no author or title, a description comes first. So as you can see, the first position is variable, but second, always second, the date, of course. But wait a minute, you say. Sometimes there is no date. How can the date come second if you don't know what it is? Simple. You use ND for no date. But assuming there is one, what should the date look like? That depends on what information you have. We'll try to keep it simple. For a book, usually you will only have a year, 2008. Simple enough. For a journal, you might have a month, 2018, February. Notice that the year is still first, and the month is spelled out in full. It's also possible that you will have an exact date, 2019, May 13th. You'll see that in weekly journals and on websites. The year is still first, and the month is still spelled out in full. Now that we have the dates down, let's return to the author. If your author or editor is a person, you'll write it as last name, comma, initial, initial. No, we don't spell out the person's given name. We don't care if it was Adam, or Allison, or Archimedes. Just the initials, please. But, you say, you have 2 authors. No problem. You write both of them the same way, last name first, with an ampersand between the 2. Same thing with 3 authors, or 6, or 19. The ampersand is always just before the last author. But wait, you say, what about 50 authors? You've got me there. The rules change at 21. But because that's so rare, we won't go into it here. There is another type of author, though, that we do have to discuss. What if it was written by the Mayo Clinic? Or the CDC, or a pseudonym from a Twitter account? You should always try to get the real name. CDC, spell it out as Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That pseudonym, get the real name if at all possible. But if you can't, the pseudonym is better than nothing. Now we're on to position 3, the title. Let's go for the simplest example first, a book. The title is the title. In italics, please. The first thing to note about the title is capitalization. You might have heard of title case? Forget it. In APA, we use sentence case. You only capitalize the first word of the title, even if it's the, and the first word of the subtitle, if there is one, and proper nouns, but all other words will have small letters. Sometimes a title has 2 parts. For instance, a journal article has 2 parts, the article title and the journal name. An article in a book has 2 parts, the article title and the book title. When that is the case, the article title will not be in italics. It will also not be in quotation marks. It just sits there, plain and simple, in sentence case. The journal name, or the book title, gets all the glory and the italics. An article on the web? In this case, the article title gets the italics, and the website is relegated to publication information. While there are lots of variations on titles, we're not going to go into detail here. You can look at our documentation guide for that. Now, it's time for the grand finale. Source. Where exactly did this information come from? Again, we will start with the simplest possibility. You got your information from a book. And that book came from where? No, not the library. And not the bookstore either. The same book could be found in many different libraries and in many different bookstores. But all those copies came from one source, the publisher. You will usually find the publisher at the bottom of the title page. Just write it as shown. A journal article? We've already covered the journal name, but now we need to be more specific. Include the volume number, issue number, and page numbers. Please notice that the volume number, like the journal name, is in italics, but the issue number and page numbers are not. APA treats the volume number as part of the title and the details as part of the source. In APA, it doesn't matter whether you got your journal article from a hard copy of the journal, through a database, or from Google Scholar. The citation is still the same. Next comes the DOI, if there is one. What is a DOI? It stands for Digital Object Identifier. That is, the identifier or number is digital. The object being identified might not be. Where do you look for a DOI? In a journal, it's usually on the first page. It could be at the top of the page, at the bottom of the page, in the middle of the page, or even on the side. In a book, it's usually on the back side of the title page, along with the rest of the publication and copyright information. Note that in the citation, regardless of whether your source is a book, a journal, or something else, the DOI is last, very last. It isn't even followed by a period. For a web page, you would put the URL at the end as well. Again, notice the lack of a final period. This keeps the URL intact. A period could keep it from working properly. I hope you feel more comfortable with APA citations now. If you need more details, check out our citation guide or contact a librarian. We also have videos on writing your paper in APA style.